what in the world do you think is going on that these exceptionally radical voices are getting mainstreamed? They really are. They're getting laundered. Like Joy Reid, listen, Joy Reid is the ultimate race baiter, and that bothers me because we have enough problems in our country without getting black people and white people to go to war over shit that isn't even real half the time. But she still was on MSNBC. Whether you want to play the DEI card on her, I'm not really down with that one because she's not dumb and she went to Harvard. And I don't agree with her on pretty much everything she says. However, I don't think she's stupid. And I do think she's still considered a more mainstream figure. And like she goes and sits with this woman and her whatever co-host and just talks about the most hideous things.
They can't have the successor to MAGA be the guy with the brown Hindu wife. They're also Christian nationalists. That ain't gonna work. That's why he's throwing his wife under the bus. Poor Usha. Or she's in on it, right?
And she's playing slap and tickle with Erica Kirk's the weirdest shit I've ever seen. Yeah, she's like in her Tammy Faye era.
Okay, holding on the back of his head and rubbing on his head.
Some weird shit.
Baby, don't do that to Jason. I'm gonna start thinking something's going on. Why you holding the back of his head? I'm like, you're not doing that right thing. You're supposed to be a widow. You in leather pants?
Yeah.
That's not widow wear.
Could you imagine if...
Wouldn't it be the most perfect fairy tale, MAGA fairy tale?
Yeah.
If he finally sees the light that he needs a white queen instead of this brown Hindu?
And I
love how the co-host never talks in the clips that go viral. She's always just mute, like...
Yeah.
But what's funny is I actually used to watch them. So their whole shtick was that they were like sassy wine moms who originally were not political. And they would they would rant and rave about like people not putting their shopping carts back or people who don't tip or these petty grievances. And they blew up. But then they just started doing a little bit of politics. And I listen to left-wing voices all the time, but that's not their thing. They don't know anything. And so it was a very low IQ, like wine mom level MSNBC bait. So I didn't find it interesting. So I checked out. I checked back in like a year later, and suddenly they're having Obama on or Kamala or all these major figures. Suddenly they're being put on CNN and MSNBC as the new darlings, even though they're so toxic, so little substance, so much heavy crassness and vulgarity as a substitute for argumentation or evidence, insults and name calling. And what's funny to me is it's actually like the worst part of how Trump acts sometimes is when he engages in this kind of thing. Like he puts the Truth Social posts out, calling people names. It's like, focus. I think in his first term, his approval rating would have been much higher if he just never tweeted, right? But everything about that, they are like, we'll just do that and then some. And I'm like, I thought you were supposed to be better. I thought you were supposed to be different. But they're like, actually hold my beer.
Oh my God, you're totally right. It's the double down. And it has been going on. When did you see? You're talking about noticing it in 2016. I didn't notice it until 2020.
Well, that was peak crazy.
Do you think it was peak crazy, or do you think that it continues to escalate? I feel like it continues to escalate. I never, in my wildest imagination in 2020, could have imagined the mainstream celebration of the assassination of a father and a husband. You know, we could debate and you know, Charlie's characteristics and the things he said. I firmly believe that he is not a racist, that he is not anti-gay, that he was a force for good. But I have no problem debating that with people who haven't watched the things he says in full context. If you want to say you think these things and you're willing to show up for a debate about it, absolutely, by all means. But to not even know anything about the guy, except that he is a father of two and a husband, and that half the country loved him, to mainstream the celebration of a murder. I don't know how to reconcile with this. I don't. Like, where do you think the left is going? You're so good at calling this out and being reasonable and listening to both sides. And I'm going to get to the right in a minute, but who is their leader? What in the hell are we going to be looking at? Team, it's 2026. It's a new year, and I don't know about you, but I definitely want a fresh wardrobe. And Quince is my go-to for luxurious, high-quality essentials that feel effortless, look polished, and actually last. I love adding new Quince pieces to my wardrobe each season. You've heard me rave about their Mongolian cashmere sweaters. They're soft, they're buttery, they're frankly superior to the ones I paid triple for elsewhere. And their Italian wool coats are sleek, tailored, cozy. And now I'm eyeing a new Quince leather jacket for an edgy look for those chilly spring evenings. Quince pieces are ideal for mixing and layering season after season. But here's the best part. Quince sells directly to the consumer, no middleman, so no markup. Timeless quality pieces for such an amazing price. And yes, their luxe bath towels and silk pillowcases are also game changers for the home. Quince delivers premium quality at honest prices. So refresh your wardrobe with Quince. Don't wait. Go to quince.com/Jillian for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada too. That's QUINCE.com/Jillian to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/Jillian. Hey ladies, it's Jillian here. And let's just say that when it comes to intimate wear, the struggle is real. For many of us, bras and underwear are just afterthoughts. Basic, uncomfortable, and honestly, underwhelming. And for years, I'd focus on my outfits, thinking the right top or the right pants would make me feel great, but Skims has flipped that script. Now, the foundation pieces I put on first set the tone for my wardrobe. Confidence and comfort all day long. The Fits Everybody Scoop bralette is just what it says. It fits every body type and it's a game changer. It's supportive, it's comfortable, and even if you have a bigger bust, which I unfortunately do not, but even if you do, it feels like a perfect fit, not a constricting sports bra. Skims is just designed differently. Quality fabrics, quality construction, soft and seamless support. You feel secure, lifted, and still totally natural. No digging, no adjusting. Skims is now just a wardrobe essential for me, and I'm sure it will be for you too. So you can shop my favorite bras and underwear at skims.com/Jillian. And after you place your order, please be sure to let them know that we sent you. Select podcast in the survey and be sure to select our show in the drop-down menu that follows.
Well, unfortunately, I don't think even that they know that yet. But I do believe that as we get closer to 2028, the Democratic primary will tell us everything, who they rally behind and what tack those individuals take, because we're going to have different options that represent this different faction. But I want to touch on the political violence aspect that you just touched on, because that's one of the most disturbing things to me about everything that's happening in America. We're spiraling more and more towards unrest, and honestly, not that far away down this path, civil war and open unrest in the streets lies. If people decide that we can settle our differences with bullets instead of ballots, we are heading to a very, very dark place. And sometimes people will dismiss, like, oh, well, most mainstream Democratic officials didn't openly support the death of Charlie Kirk. True. But okay, they'll say it's just a few TikToks. Not true. Look at some of the public polling about the percentage of Democrats that think the assassination of Charlie Kirk or of Elon Musk or Donald Trump is at least partially justified. You're getting near majorities or pluralities in some of that polling from the Network Contagion Institute. That is a genie that you can't put back in the bottle. And I think it stems from a couple ideas. A couple of things. One is the demonization of people who disagree, and I encountered this a lot in left-wing spaces early in my career, as not just wrong, but they've got to be some form of racist, sexist, homophobic, bigot, because when you paint it in that terms, then it's no longer people of good faith holding different positions. Like, I have people in my family who voted for Kamala Harris and lots who voted for Trump. And I know them to be good people of good faith who reach different conclusions or maybe have some misguided ideas or incorrect beliefs about different things. But when you paint things instead as an existential fight between good and evil, it becomes fairly easy to rationalize or at least become anesthetized to violence, right? Because you believe, well, the stakes are so high. Every single election is the greatest election of our lifetime or the most important election we've ever had. And so I think the constant alarmism is part of the problem that got us here. And then the other part, I think, it traces back to the idea of words as violence, right? Because we have watered down terms like trauma and violence and safety so much. So that when a microaggression becomes something that makes you unsafe, and actually we have unironically a chunk of the country that has believed that and bought into that ridiculous notion that like, oh, well, you said something in a way that's slightly insensitive, so that person's not safe. Well, at some point, if speech becomes violence, if you redefine speech as violence, then violence in response to speech is just self-defense or a preemptive strike. And down that way, you can't have a democratic society, right? Then you end up with open rule of the strong, might makes right, and it's a very dark path to go down that I think traces back decades in where these ideas started infiltrating.
Yeah, they completely dehumanize the other side. And I try so hard, I'm like the left, and it's too broad. I take that back. I'm talking about the politicians on the left and the major pundits that push these insane narratives. I'm talking about the AOCs, the Gavin Newsoms, the Ilhan Omars. That's what I'm talking about. Like that kind of crazy is just beyond my comprehension.
Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the podcast, please like, comment, subscribe, and share. And make sure to let me know what guests you want to see on in the future.